Welcome to Motivational Monday. This is Fed Razak, Senior Trading Strategist here at CMTrading. And today I want to discuss role modeling. Now, before we start, make sure to like, subscribe, and do share, especially if you find value in this presentation. Did the drill. Okay, so here's the story. All right, I'm studying university, I'm studying psychology, and half a semester we dedicated ourselves to studying a certain project. Now, this project actually is referenced in 1971. And it was a professor in Stanford University who came up with this project. And basically what he did is that he decided to see what are the effects on students who are acting and modeling. And what he did is that he made a mock jail cell. He made a mock jail, and he took a bunch of students, made them into guards, gave them uniforms, gave them titles, and he made another set of arbitrary students into prisoners. Now, these were completely lateral people. Everybody was on the same level. Everybody was a student in the school, and it really was just arbitrary who got to become a guard and who became a prisoner. Now, he gave them both effectively a very rudimentary kind of mock play as to who were the guards and who were the prisoners, and he gave them uniforms. He gave them for both set, and he gave it like as if it was a jail cell. But nobody was a prisoner, nobody was really a guard. Now, what had transpired in a very short period of time is that the prisoners and the guards played their roles like as if they were truly guards and they were truly prisoners. And it got to a point that they had to stop the experiment because it got a little bit too violent, because each set was playing their role to the T. Everybody was really been very honest about their role in that particular experiment, and he had to put a stop to it. Now, what's the point of this? Okay, so many times in life, okay, whether we come from a set of family and we're in a certain hierarchy, especially if it's siblings, okay, there's a responsible eldest son or eldest daughter, and then there comes like the less responsible, and everybody plays a role in the family, okay, or you're working in a certain company, right? And you have a certain title and you have a certain job that you do. And sometimes you go out of that boundary and you do other jobs, okay? And, sometimes you're not always looked at, okay? Sometimes the resources, the upper echelon of management ends up going to resource outside the company. And what ends up happening is that for you to make any kind of move up, you can't do it inside the company. You got to go to another company to do it. And that is probably the biggest challenge, I think, for many companies, is because they're not looking for in-house in order to promote, but they're looking for outside resources. And then as you're getting passed over, you're seeing your worth, but the company not seeing its worth in you, and you end up going to another company in order to make that transition. Now, this is something that I think many people are going through when they work for larger corporations, because it is harder to make that transition into a higher ranking position over the years. So just because you're a veteran doesn't really give you that latitude sometimes. And the point of all this is that sometimes we just play into that role. And it's very, very difficult to play out of that role, especially in a hierarchy of a family. Okay, there's always that person in the family that acts that way. And sometimes it's not because that person is that way. It's because the other people around him have put them in that way. Okay, they've already boxed them in to be that irresponsible child, or to be that one that is the responsible child, right? Because the other siblings are not taking responsibilities. Okay, so many a times we're just role playing. But here's the catch. If in the experiment these guards ended up playing the guards and these prisoners ended up playing the prisoners, now it was completely arbitrary. In life, it's completely arbitrary to the role that you're set. Now, I'm not talking about being a parent. That is a role that you inherit. That's a role that you jump into, and you can't get away with it, okay? You need to be the parent. That child needs a parent. That child needs an adult to lead them, okay? But at the same time, you do need to be able to recognize in yourself that you can recreate that role within yourself in order to make different type of movements in life. And sometimes it's very, very difficult because we've played that pattern so many times. And not only that, we've allowed the people around us to play that pattern. And many a time I look over the transitions in my life where I went from one thing to the next, and it was like as if I was setting up the same challenges over and over again with the same type of players. And that's because I stayed the same. Now, the only time I was able to transcend that was when I changed, and then the people around me ended up changing. It wasn't the same players anymore. It wasn't the same type of interactions that I was having anymore because I changed. And by that changing, by me changing, I recreated the type of people that were the closest around me. And I think that that's very effective in life. And I do challenge you with that if you find yourself recreating, because what happens is that we have our childhood of origin, we have a certain network, and we have a certain constant how we react to the people around us, and then we recreate that later stages in life in whatever pattern that we're in, but we're recreating that pattern with those type of people. Now, certain people will just be away from you if you recreated different types of patterns. I know that this is really a deep thought, but I believe that this is so true in everybody's life, because what ends up happening is that we just go to our default, and our default is what we learned as children. And if that's the thing that we recreate for ourselves in life, then that doesn't recreate something new. And you see this time and time again. You see this with people who get into relationships, and then they break those relationships, and then get into another relationship. And it seems like it's the same movie over and over again. But until they've changed, they can't change the surroundings around them. And I think that that's really an important lesson, that that's an empowering lesson, the fact that you can control the environment around you, but also that it depends on you. Okay, you're the one that's going to have to change, you or me, in whatever situation we're talking about. And I think that that's really very important for all of us to really take in and to heed this Motivational Mondays. We'll see you here next week.